Now to the ongoing battle over America's childcare system, what some lawmakers are calling our human infrastructure. It's an industry so vital to our society and our economy, and now it's on the brink. Tonight, we are bringing in our former colleague, Amna Nawaz, now chief correspondent of PBS NewsHour and host of the upcoming PBS NewsHour primetime documentary, Raising the Future, the Childcare Crisis. Amna, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Hi, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Childcare has not always been a focus of lawmakers, quite frankly, the media either. Why do you think it's getting more attention now at this moment, and why has it become such a flashpoint?
You know, Phil, for any parent down there, we're not telling them anything they don't already know. Childcare is incredibly expensive. It's hard to find, and often it's a combination of the two. And I think what the last year, the pandemic year, really revealed was just how fragile the entire American childcare system really is. When all those childcare centers shuttered, when tens of thousands of childcare workers, disproportionately women, and half of them women of color, overworked and underpaid, lost their jobs, and parents were left to figure out what to do on their own, it really revealed just how dysfunctional our system has been. Got a lot of people asking the question, why is it that way? Does it have to be that way? And what can we do to fix it? So that's exactly what we set out to unpack in this hour-long PBS special, is what happens now.
Yeah, and you take a real in-depth look. You report that during times of war, the United States actually had a national childcare system that worked. So why did we abandon that model?
That's absolutely right. This was an interesting piece of history even I didn't know about. During World War II, men went off to fight, women went to factories, and Congress said, hey, we need to take care of America's children. They set up thousands of national child care centers, taking care of over 500,000 American children. When the war was over, they got rid of them. But the crisis did not go away. Of course, years go by. There's different forms of child care reform that's usually associated with poverty reform or welfare reform, really focusing mainly on low-income Americans. But the truth is that child care is a problem for all families, regardless of your background, unless, of course, you are independently wealthy. And we should also point out, under President Nixon, there was a bipartisan effort to create a system of national child care centers. And that actually, with parents paying on a sliding scale, it did pass Congress in a bipartisan way, which is something we don't get to say often. And then because of vocal conservative backlash, President Nixon ended up vetoing it. And years have gone by without any real reform. The system has only gotten more fragmented and harder for American families to actually pay for it. And in America, parents shoulder most of the burden, which is not the way it is in many other parts of the world.
Speaking about other parts of the world, you also examined the childcare system in developed Western European countries. What can the U.S. learn from them?
Yeah, we looked at a bunch of other countries like France and Britain and Israel and Sweden, where the government actually subsidizes a good portion of childcare. France, in particular, has a national childcare system known as crèche, which literally translates to crib. So in those crucial early years, kids age 0 to 2 have a standardized system. They can access any of these national childcare centers. They have high quality, standardized teachers and educators and childcare providers there. Parents pay on a sliding scale, but parents in France actually pay anywhere from half to a quarter of what the average American family pays per child per year. So it's highly subsidized. And then even when the kids age out of that and turn 3, they have a national system for 3-year-olds, a pre-K system that's also heavily subsidized by the government. Now, of course, French people pay higher taxes, but this is something that the French government has decided is good for the community, good for the country, good for the economy. It's considered a public good, and that's why they pay as much as they do for it.
So many American families are crushed by the cost of childcare. In your documentary, you speak with Ethel Williams, a mother struggling to find affordable and quality care. Let's take a look.
I needed childcare that I didn't have to pay for, because if I worked and tried to pay for childcare, I would be working to pay childcare. And so it was a lot of times I would quit jobs or, just stay at home because it was easier that way.
So why is childcare so expensive here in the U.S., and is there a reason we don't have more public funding for it?
Yeah, that was Ethel Williams there, the single mother of 5 children in Biloxi, Mississippi. And she was talking to my colleague, I should mention, special correspondent Kat Wise, who visited a lot of these communities to talk about what's happening on the ground there. Look, Ethel experienced what a lot of American families experience, which is that the math just doesn't add up. The average American family pays about $10,000 a year per child per year for childcare. And that's still pretty high. But what the actual cost of childcare is, if The people who worked in those child care centers had benefits. If they were paid probably a fair living wage, it would be closer to $30,000 or $35,000 a year. And that's what the child care centers have to cover. So that gap is often filled with grants and donations and subsidies, and the math just continues to not add up. Now, what the experts will tell you is the only way to fill that gap, to make the math work, is by public funds. And that, of course, is a huge political debate. Should state funds, county funds, federal funds be going to fill that gap? That's where the politicians are all fighting. But regardless of your political background, the crisis is the same. Everyone agrees. It's too expensive. It's too hard to find. The system just isn't working for American families.
Amna Nawaz, good to see you. Thank you for being here. PBS NewsHour's primetime documentary, Raising the Future, the Child Care Crisis, is airing Tuesday, October 12th at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.